Hey, welcome back. This is Talk 22, Radio 22's very own Talk 22. I'm your host, Mizzle Jizzle. Welcome back. Appreciate all y'all for listening to our last show that we had. We had a show that we talked a lot about race and racism in America and its effects on what's been going on with the climate of what's going on in America today. Uh, it was such a heavy conversation. It was such a big conversation. It was a meaningful conversation. It was a necessary conversation, overdue conversation that basically I had no choice but to add on a part two. So with the part two of today, I'm going to increase the awareness. I'm going to bring more to the conversation. And with that, I got some of my guests today. If everybody can unmute their microphones at this time. Uh, Today's conversation, my guest today, got a gentleman by the name of Irie. Irie, from the Madison area. I got, coming back to the show, I got the homie, and the Hope Boy, and I have Steve, otherwise known as the homie ISO, is on the show. And of course, I have my guest host, Dash DUB. He's in the house. He's here to answer all your questions as you type away. We're here to answer. This is a show that we answer the tough questions and we talk about the conversations that you want to talk about and we bring it to you with the real. So, with that being said, I'm going to start off tonight's conversation and say, uh, a lot of people talk about this situation, and a lot of people thought that this conversation was going to be over in America. Like they thought it was going to just kind of pass by. You know, the way I look at it, we've been talking about racism, but like racism has been happening for a long time. So I guess my question to the panel originally here is going to be, my first question is, do you believe that racism is apparently now worse now than back in the civil rights era? Or, I mean, why do you feel like this is being brought up today? I mean, we've seen a lot of George Floyd. So, I mean, why now is this conversation being brought up? I'm going to start today with the homie ISO. I'm going to start with you today, if you could unmute.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for allowing me to be part of this conversation. Like you guys said, this is a conversation that needs to take place. And one of the reasons why I reached out was because white people need to have this conversation too, and we need to have the conversation with Black people, with people of color. And to address the question that you had, if do I think that racism is worse now than it was before, like during the civil rights era? There's an idea that I think that has been accepted pretty widely that we are a nation of progress. But I think that the past few weeks, past few months, it's kind of proven that we are not a nation of progress. It kind of goes along with the idea of, the systemic racism that we have is that, there's this ideology, there are these thoughts and ideas and ways of thinking and ways of oppressing people that, white people have done for hundreds of years. And, we want the rest of the world to believe that we are progressive and that we are moving forward, but we're not. So I do not believe it's gotten better. If anything, it's probably gotten worse. It's just that now because of social media and camera phones, and we're the white people like myself are seeing it more, and we're being forced to face it, look at it. And we wanted to hide from it. We didn't want to address it. We didn't want to have the conversation. It's time to have the conversation. And I just, it was kind of just a false hope, a false narrative that, the government, whoever's in charge, white people, that they wanted the world to believe. They wanted us to believe. They wanted everybody to believe that we're moving forward. But like I said, the past few months, especially the past few weeks, past few years, it's too much death, too much violence, too many lies. It's just, I don't think it's gotten better. I think it's gotten worse. If anything, there's more people, but I feel like there might be more people that are willing to work now to change things, but I don't think we've necessarily moved that much further ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm kind of interested on your thoughts of the matter. How do you feel about that, brother?
So I was listening to the news a few days ago or last week or something, and one of the news guys asked a question, and it really, it made sense to me. He said, so, and this was on live TV, he goes, so is it the fact that, racism is happening more, or are we just seeing it more? And that was probably the $1 million question, because it's not happening more. It's all been happening. Ain't nothing changed in that aspect of is racism, happening more. No, it's all happening the same. If not, people are trying to make it happen less, right? They're trying to. It's the fact that we're seeing it more. Now we have people broadcasting and sharing videos and all of that now, and that's part of the reason why this whole thing escalated to the point at which it did. It's because we're able to see it firsthand right away. Not, somebody records a video of it on their camera phone, on the camera part of their phone, and it doesn't get showed to anybody, or it doesn't get seen by the world. It doesn't go viral. It doesn't blow up on different sites, so it's the fact that we're able to see it more versus the fact of, is it happening more? And unfortunately, I've had a lot of, my white friends come up to me like, I didn't realize that, this happened, and I didn't realize that you go through this, and people really talk to you like that, and people really look at you different, like that really happened, and it's because, my friends, they don't see me like that, right? But the world ain't my friend, right? The world ain't your friend. The world ain't all of our friends, so yeah, I think we're just seeing it more versus it happening more,
Okay. Ant, what is your feelings on that? You gotta unmute.
Yeah, I did that pause because I knew I had to hit the unmute. But I would echo sentiments that other people have said, because this is a different day and age, right? When Dr. King, right, when they were in Alabama and they marched, and it turned violent, right? The fact that people were able to see that on TV, that marked a major shift in the civil rights movement. People were appalled by what they saw, right? Because everybody was probably focused on it and looking at it. And so you figure it was heading in the right path, right? But, not so much. So today, in this day and age, like my brother said, like, everybody has access to the news right in their hands, right? To where back in the days, you had to sit in front of a TV, you had to actually make a concerted effort to find out stuff. And now you don't have to do that as much. And so, and that's part of the big issue. Black people have been saying this has been going on for, so This has been going on for centuries. Let's put it there. And so imagine a frustration of telling somebody for 400 and something years something has been happening, and they just brush you off, and they just don't believe you, and they just say it's all in your imagination. Oh, if you would have just acted better. Oh, if you would have just been polite to this person. Oh, if you would have just did that, that wouldn't have happened. But I didn't see it happen, so I can't even fully support you because you might have done something to bring that behavior onto yourself. And so what we're saying is that people, like, is being exposed for what it is. And while Black people are like, we like told you. The fact that people can now come into the realization, that's a part of the problem, right? I listened to the brother, I think it was Irie, who said his friends don't see him that way or didn't see him as, and that's the issue right there, is that you can have a whole nother generation born into this world and they like, hey, whoa, that exists? Huh? Why do they treat you like that? We have history, but it's not talked about. It's swept under the rug. We don't deal with it. And then we wonder why the same problems persist, right? We look to the past to make the future better, but that's a past that America is trying to keep swept under the rug and not really deal with. And that's why it's continuing to rear its ugly head, because we keep trying to push it down. So I think in a way, like honestly, off gut feeling, I think it has gotten worse. Like just off gut feeling, I feel like it has gotten worse, because it's just so nuanced and so pervasive, and it's like in the way that people communicate, right? So if somebody comes into a Black neighborhood and they say, you know what, we want to clean this neighborhood up, on the surface it doesn't sound like they're saying much at all, but the history of it is they're saying, you know what, people, we got to get out of this neighborhood, we got to clean this area up. They're talking about people, not physically cleaning it up. And so that's why I would say it's worse, because people can talk and you will miss things. And because it's so ingrained in who we are as a society, I would say just off gut instinct, has gotten worse.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. My daughter had a friend who, is a little white girl, and she says to her mom, what? She sees the George Floyd stuff on the TV. She's like, what is this all about, anyways? And her mother tells her, it's about a situation where the officers mistreated and killed this, black man because they didn't like him because there was racism involved. And her response was, "What? I thought we were over that." Which I saw that as a really positive situation, that a young person like that is thinking that kind of mentality. So I guess I'm gonna include you, Dash. If you could let us know your thoughts. Is racism? I mean, is it that racism is worse now than it was the civil rights era, or are we just like why are we all of a sudden? Why does it seem like everybody's on this tip? I mean, we've seen these things happen already, but it seems like this feels different now. This feels like people are like, enough is enough, and it just feels different. So, can you speak on that?
Yeah. What's going on, One a Minute? You with us? You able to hear us?
We got a new person on the line.
I think he may still be getting his
joining
stuff.
the panel.
All right, cool.
We'll definitely get to him too.
So, not to what Ann said, was I felt was the new racism. I almost look at it as two different racisms because of the time. When we first got here and we were first brought here as slaves, the racism was very what they call overt, very in your face, where to the naked eye you could definitely see that people were being mistreated and treated unfairly, and treated in inhumane ways in your face. I think as we've gone in time, as Ann said, there's nuance to it. It's not as overtly in your face, but it's almost some of those passive things, those behind the scene things that the naked eye won't see. So maybe that child hasn't picked up what's going on because to her eye, it makes it seem that, oh, well, we don't have segregation. We're all in the same schools. They can walk down the street just like anybody else can walk down the street, but it's the small things they're missing. Redlining, when they're talking about where blacks can live and can't live, which was slyly written into lease agreements and renting agreements, the things that you don't always see. But when black people are trying to look in a certain place to live and they told they can't, now they know what's going on. It's the sly stuff. As you can take Madison for example. Look at the disparities in the school system. And it's not just Madison, it's all over the country. Now, somebody looking at that would say, oh, they're in the same schools we are. Aren't they getting the same opportunities, and the same things that are happening to them are happening to us? No, it's not. It's not quite like that. The opportunities are different. The way black kids are punished in schools and suspended at a rate far higher than other kids is different. How they're treated by security and police is different. You may not always see it, but we see it. When I get pulled over, there's not a million eyes. And there's things going on there in that dialogue going back and forth. We even get to a point of dialogue that the general public isn't seeing. Why I think things have been changed around is because now with the addition of this technology of people basically having cameras on whatever devices they have, we are now starting to see it in a way we've never seen it before. In my generation, if you got pulled over, there was no phone. There was no cell phone. How am I going to report that? You just taking my word for it that it happened. And when you're talking about word, especially when it comes to the media, that can get twisted, manipulated, wrapped up, and spit out in 18 different ways versus what actually happened. So for me, it's, I think it's probably similar between when it was, how it started and how it is now, but it's just different. It's just what you can see through the naked eye versus what you can't see through the naked eye. But that cell phone right now is the ultimate equalizer. It is starting, not completely, but it is starting to level the playing field. So now it's not my word against the police officer's word or versus the teacher's word or versus the accountant's word or whoever. We have documentation that can give validity to these things that are happening behind the scenes. And that's why I think this movement has sparked up. And I think that is going to be hopefully the equalizer. It ain't a solve all because we've seen Philando Castile. We saw the whole video and that cop he got off.
Yeah.
So it ain't a solve all. That's why I say it can begin to be an equalizer, but it doesn't solve everything. There's systems and things like that have to be changed, have to be placed, have to be torn down, have to be rebuilt. So that's what I got. Okay. Hopefully one of many got his audio and everything working and he can chime in.
Okay, so yeah, we do have a new panelist added to the panel here, just logged on. If you could introduce yourself, feel free at this time.
Yeah, am I good? Am I in and out? How do I sound?
We can hear you.
Cool. So yeah, my name is One of Many. I'm a music artist on behalf of Blood. We run an apparel company for local artists. Our goal behind that, it was called Less Work Lifestyle. The goal behind Less Work is just to be able to connect with the music industry on a local, established as a major. We just think it's important for us to like get a foothold on our local area before we would think about expanding. So that's why we do Less Work. Again, my name is One of Many. I am a rap artist and I am part owner of the brand Less Work Lifestyle with my partner, Kilo, aka Skittles. I just want to
Okay,
thank y'all for having me.
welcome to
Thank
the
y'all for
show.
tuning in. Thank y'all for listening.
Okay, so
Yeah.
as I was saying, basically with the way I've been looking at things, you know, we've seen racism. I mean, this isn't the first episode of racism that we've ever seen. This isn't the first police brutality we've seen. This has been going on for years and years and years. My question is, I guess here at the panel, what we were asking is, do you believe that racism is all of a sudden now worse than it was of the civil rights era? Or, I mean, what is it that we're seeing here? I think we lost him.
Yeah. Now, as far as like, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay. So as far as like racism then and now, I just think it's a lot goes in between there. But this is my take on it. It's like growing up, those racism is taught, right? So in the beginning stages, it was less of multicultural, like the mixed babies, right? So now the mixed babies are growing up, and they have to deal with this blood battle between my black side, my white side, right? And they're taking over like certain industry jobs or their families. That part makes it to where Dash, I believe, is saying where it's not so obvious, it's not so uh, uh, disrespectful, so blatant, so in your face, because of in my opinion, it's just the mixture, right? Nobody is the majority and no minority. It's like you can't really look at it like that. And the babies growing up in high school.
Did we lose the audio?
We may have lost him there.
Yeah, he going in and out.
Okay. We're going to come back to you, my brother. We're going to come back to you. But he did bring up a good point. That brings my next question. All right, I'm going to go to you. My next question is, do you believe that interracial families have contributed to the difference in the way that people kind of have viewed this? Because I feel like we got like more white people ever than now kind of chiming in, and they kind of standing and taking the lead, and well, not taking the lead, but they standing on the front line and giving their 2 cents stronger than I've ever seen before. So can you kind of talk about that?
So, well, I'll just start by saying, I back that, 100%. Only because, and that again, I might be biased, but I have a 17-month-year-old son. His name is Prince, and he's mixed. His mother is white. And so far, it's my first kid and being a dad, and I'm trying to, even though at this young age, I'm still trying to instill, the fact that, you are black, you might be, your DNA might be half black, it might be half black, half white, but you are still nonetheless black. And that helps this world. You yourself as a 17-month-year-old child help the world grow. Only because, that was forbidden back in the day. Prince would have been exiled as an infant, because he's mixed breeds, he's mixed bloodlines, and we're seeing more of that now because it's people are getting out of their shell. It's been a trial and error for the last 500 years of, well, maybe we can make this work with a mixed kid. Maybe we can mix bloodlines. Maybe we could do this, and in hopes that it would help, the situation to be more quote unquote equal. right? If we give one and for one, then nobody's taking one from one, right? So it's like I back it 100%. I actually seen a shirt the other day on Facebook. I'm pretty sure that said it was a white lady with a T-shirt on. On the back of the T-shirt says, "If they start shooting, stand behind me." Because and that's just one of those things that's like, damn, like, you right. Is they gonna pull the trigger first on a white lady? Probably not. You know, it's kind of like a shield, but those shields are humans, and again, we are humans too. You know, and it's like if it takes a generation of light skinned ass people to just to make it you know, more culturally acceptable, to show that, you know, this stuff can happen and it's good for the country, it's good for the world that this kind of thing happens, and then, you know, that's how it has to be. You know, I never want my son to grow up like, fuck, I hate being half black, I hate being half white, I hate being a half, because you're not. He's not a half, he's a whole person. You know, he is a whole person that just so happens to have a mixed bloodline, you know? And it's like, we don't choose our skin color, you know? He didn't choose to be mixed like that, you know? And none of these people choose to be the skin color that they just are. And so when it comes to these mixed kids and mixed adults and just mixed people in general, no matter what the race is mixed, I feel like it's something good, and the fact that it's happening a lot more now, I feel like is even better. It's a bolder statement when you look in a crowd of protesters and not only see black people. You know what I mean? It's such a bold statement to have that.
Oh, Mizzle, please let me, please.
I'm coming to you next, Ant. Actually, so I guess what I'm gonna ask here to you also, you know, with so many people who may come across where there's interracial families now. So I see people who are like, wait a second now, my grandchildren are half black, half white. Wait a second now, my daughter is black. Wait a second now, my son is black. Wait a second now. So, you know, they're speaking up now more than ever, I feel like. So, I mean, do you feel like that has something to do with how this feels different?
First off, I would have to like see the numbers of what that group constitutes in our population. So I'd have to see some numbers on that to speak more deeply to that. But what I did want to say about it, though, is, right, as people stolen from the continent of Africa, right, we all came over here, and for the most part, we were probably all dark-skinned, full of melanin. So, right, light-skinned people became born in America during slave time. You know how that happened? Slave masters were raping black women. So biracial children is not a new thing. And biracial children, so what I'm trying to say, right? Some people say that these relationships mean that people, you know, are moving past things. You know, I talked about it last week. I was in law enforcement. I've gone to homes. I've dealt with situations where I've had a white mom mad at a black dad using the N-word to their biracial kid. So I just want to say that just because you lay down and have sex with someone does not mean you're not racist, does not mean you're down for the cause, does not mean you automatically get a pass. That comes from the work you actually put in. Because if you just are attracted to somebody and you have a kid, that means nothing. I know plenty of people who had one night stands and a child was produced from that. Does that mean that person fully understands your experience? Does that mean? So what I'm saying is I would caution to think that equates to something. Now, interracial families, I hope the education is happening within those families, because we also know there's a divide within the Black community between light-skinned and dark-skinned people. So, like, all I'm saying is this has existed for a long time, and the way that it has been used and utilized is to create a divide between African people, right? Because that's where we get the term house slave, field slave,
Right.
right? If you were born from the master, if the master raped your mom, you were more likely asked to
Be
come
in
into
the
the
house.
house and do some easy work. That created a divide between the dark-skinned slaves who were in the field for hours on end. So this dynamic has existed for a long time. And so I got light-skinned friends who say I'm either not black enough for my black friends or I'm not white enough for the white people. So there's a struggle happening within those people as well, on top of what is happening in society. And there's statistics, right? There's research that shows the darker you are, the harder your life is. The darker you are, the longer sentence you will get in jail. So there's so many things around that we just can't say interracial families will wipe and blot all of this out. Because if that were the case, right, I think it would be a lot more progress. I think people that are out there protesting are non-black people. They're finally starting to wanting to get it. Not because the information has been out there, but I think they're finally starting to want to accept it and then do something with it. So there's so much complexity in the interracial families thing, and I don't want to simplify it like, oh, they're solving all our problems. Nah, because we're still at the point that we're at. So, and if you look at, the Black Panthers, leaders of the Black Panthers, what were they? Were they like the main leader, light skin or dark skin, right? If you look at a lot of movements, you have lighter skinned people kind of leading it up for whatever reason it may be, because there's an internal struggle that persists within them and inside the culture of being black, then on top of that, being in this country called America. So I just want to say, don't simplify it. If interracial relationships are helping some white people to be more courageous, more committed, more bold, I applaud that, but I just don't think it's that simple.
Okay. I'm going to swing it to you, one of many. We're going to try again here. With that same thought, I guess, do you believe that the concepts of the interracial families, the blended families now, like I just feel like you see more of a voice from white people stepping up and saying, hey, that was wrong. Where maybe some of these voices are never heard before, but I'm hearing now more than ever. And I feel like, could that possibly be the reason why is that now they have a son or a daughter or someone else in their family that has a face much like George?
Yeah. Man, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot to unpack, especially now. Like I said, even in our group chats, like the fact that we answer these questions in 2020 says a lot about where we at right now. Because I can have this same conversation with my grandfather, my great grandfather, and then the times will be different, and then the names of who we comparing the names to will be different. So like, as far as like somebody having a difference, or does this play a role? One of the roles, but not like all of the roles. So I agree with, like, my boy Irie. I agree with my boy Ant. It's just, to me, like, this is part of the problem. I wouldn't blame everything that we go through on race. You know what I'm saying? As some would agree, some would disagree. It's a lot of factors that goes into where we at today, and the thing about post Civil War, or whatever it took place in, the models and the structures of business weren't what they were today. Yes, white people were owners of everything, but now it's just like the generational longevity of owning everything for the amount of time that white people have owned everything. We kind of been like boxed out, right? So that's the what Dash was saying, the red lining of where you can live or how you can get a job. Those things were implemented in place years ago, and we are just like the results of trying to get through the loopholes of today. So I don't really know the answer to that. It's just more so, it's like, where are we now? Where did we come from? And what can we do without going outside our culture, right? Outside our existence of necessities and things that we need in our life. Because as many problems as we have, we still spend a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? In this place that we aren't treated. properly and fairly, which is America. So I think our problem is deeper than just race right now. And I'm working with some individuals that are looking for help solutions for our people, like on the ground every day. Not just the riots, not just the protests people hearing about, but it's just some forward motion that we're trying to put out here. And I don't think the problem is just the end all. I think we need to talk about solutions throughout the problems that we have. So yeah, that's my take on it, man. I don't want to just combine it with just race alone, but it is a start to talk about from a talking point. Yeah.
Okay. Dash DB. I need to know from you. I'm gonna switch up a little bit. With that being said, that we do see more white faces on the front line than we've maybe seen in eras past.
Right.
Do you feel like we need white allies in this fight?
100%. And why I say 100% because we are not in positions of power per se in the system. Not that we don't have power, because we do have power. We have power to organize, to congregate, to put plans together, but we don't have enough people in positions of congressmen, of look at the cabinet right now. I don't even think there's a brother in there. In government positions to be able to change, or either change or tear down and rebuild some of these unjust structures and systematic racism that has been put into almost everything that we do. Whether it's where you live, where you get a job, where you go to school, how much money you earn. I mean, in every single level of it, there are people pulling the strings and the levers that are controlling what can be and cannot be done. I think this movement we currently have has gotten more steam and possibly more coverage because more white allies are involved in this movement than I believe, at least in my lifetime. I can't talk about movements from the 60s and before I was born. We seem to have more white allies in this movement than we had in previous movements. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this movement has gotten more press, gone longer, more steam behind it than previous ones that have happened and occurred. I mean, George Floyd is, not to sound insensitive, but only the latest, not the first, not the second. This happens all the time. So I think the white allies have been key in keeping this going. I think the real evaluation of the effectiveness of it is going to be, what are the end results? That will show me more than anything else. I love the movement. I love the organization. I love the people being out there and getting things done. But the white allies need to use their connections and privilege to influence and make change. That is really the important connector. It's one to show up. Cool. I see you. Love. But it's a whole nother thing to tap your brother, brother-in-law, cousin, co-worker, or whoever it is that is in a position to be able to change things and to truly have us have equity and justice, to be able to tap them and say, yo, this is wrong. This needs to be changed. You need to sit with such and such so you have more perspective on the changes that need to be made. You need to switch to these hiring practices. You need to evaluate things that you've done in the past that have been unjust. That, for me, is going to be the real deal breaker and possibly the most important part to it. Is what happens, what are our white allies willing to do beyond to show up and protest? Not that I'm not thankful and appreciative and love what they're doing, but we're doing this for a reason. There's an end goal of change that we're really looking to get to. And I don't want people to lose sight of that.
So ISO, I'm gonna come to you now. I appreciate your bravery and even being on this show. Of course, you are our only Caucasian member of this panel, but I'm going to ask you with this. Same, I guess, legit question is, I guess, what do you see as the role of the white ally in this fight? Some people tell me, yo, this ain't your fight. This is the fight of the black man and women to overcome racism against themselves. How do you see that?
I do believe that white allies are necessary, but we have to enter it with a level of admittance, acknowledgement, and humility. We have to learn the history. We have to educate ourselves. And to touch on the things that Dash was saying, you know, the system, whiteness supremacy. It's a social and political construct. It's been in place for hundreds and hundreds of years. Black people have been fighting, struggling, yelling, screaming, dying for this movement for the entire time. And white people still didn't get it. And there is an opportunity here for us to try and get it. But we need to know that we are new to this. We are new to this fight. We are new to this struggle. We have to accept our role in it, our compliance with it. The fact that I grew up in a racist community. I went to racist schools, racist family members. Even I was racist at some point. Probably will be in the future too, just because of the way that I'm thinking, the way that I have been told to think, the way that I have been taught in the schools.
Okay.
And the first thing that we need to do is admit that. As an individual, I can face my own racism. And then I can talk to others. I can be a white person talking to other white people and telling them that, you know, we have to do our own work now. Because Black people, people of color, indigenous people, been telling us, been trying to educate us, and they've been fighting. They got that fight. They got that on lock. They know how to do that. You guys know how to do that. I need to learn how to do that for myself and how I can be a part of it and how I can support you. And it's like, it's power in numbers, right? It's, you know, the more allies you have, the bigger the revolution can be, the bigger the change can be, the quicker the change can be. It's not going to be easy. But we have to, white people have to have some sort of accountability, take responsibility, admit, acknowledge, and then build, gain your trust back, build a level of trust, build relationships. You know, I was talking to my wife earlier about coming on this program tonight, have this conversation. First thing she said to me was like, you're going to be out of your comfort zone. And I am. I don't have these conversations. I've never had a conversation like this. But I'm glad I'm here. I appreciate y'all letting me come and take part in this. And I just hope that I can continue to learn and continue to listen.
Yeah, thank you for that, bro.
Hey man, I'll just tell you right now, ISO, you're on the right road, because a lot of what people don't want to do is, like, I tell my white people that will listen, my white friends, y'all think the worst thing you can be called is a racist. And it's absolutely not, because you were raised to be one. You were, like you said, you were trained to be one. So like, you can unlearn that. You can move from that place. So don't let, right, if you do something like that, so I applaud you, man, because you got to know where you're starting from. And then you can figure out how to get somewhere else. But if you never, ever acknowledge that, hey, I'm this, then you won't be able to move from that point. So I just wanted to say, I appreciate that, man, for acknowledging that space and that place where you are.
Thank you.
I'm glad you said that too. I was gonna ask you actually, Ant, the same following question. I was gonna ask you, do you believe that we need white allies in this fight?
I think absolutely, because at the end of the day, Black people, we all know we human. Like we know that we're human, and we know that we should be treated like any other human. So guess what? If you're a human and you down for the cause, then you should be fighting with us other humans. So anybody that's willing to fight, yes, you're gonna fight. But I will say, like ISO say, you got to know your lane. So my white brothers and sisters are fighting to educate their white brothers and sisters. I'm fighting to heal my community, to heal my young men and my young women who've been under the same white supremacy, patriarchy that we all have fallen under. So I'm trying to build up my community's positive self-esteem. And so I need my white sisters and brothers to go out and and in real crazy situations, be double agents, right? We talk about war and we talk about strategy. We're gonna need some of y'all to get up in these, like people are being outed. Like the quarterback, Jake Fromm, right? Said whatever he said. Who told on him? A friend. She probably read over that and was like, yeah, this out of order. Let me put him on blast. That's what we need, because that's helping people to see themselves. Like this little captain from the U.S. Naval Academy who mistakenly recorded himself for 30-something minutes on live talking about Black Lives Matter, right? So that's how to help our other white people realize you will be found out. So this is not fake work. Like he was on there, didn't know he was on live, him and his wife talking. He was like, so now I gotta be nice to the Black bitch in the office. That's how he started off his conversation. So you know how we say, tell me how you really feel. Yes. So I need my white brothers and sisters in those places, seeing what people are really saying and really thinking, so we can expose them and start to dismantle this system. Because usually, right, people like that are unfortunately in high positions where they impact, right, and they direct other people, and they train other people, and they show other people what the culture should be. And so absolutely, we need, I don't care where you from, right, be an ally, because at the end of the day, us Black people know we're human. It's just other people they need to get with that program. Because once you realize, oh yeah, they are human, it's not even hard to get with somebody then, right? When you realize, man, we ain't as different as the world is trying to paint us, right? And that's where this whole idea of whiteness came from. Whiteness came to do what? Divide us, right? Because when the Irish immigrants and the Eastern European immigrants were coming over here, they treated them like dirt too. But guess what?
Right.
They sold them on the fact that, hey, at least you could probably get what us white people have. They'll never get it. So don't ever side with them. And even though you're poor just like them, even though you're struggling just like them, even though all this stuff is happening, you still have the possibility of obtaining whiteness. And that's the lie that has been sold in America, that whiteness is greatness, that whiteness is better than, that whiteness is what you ought to attain in this life. And it's the reason why a lot of people are still divided. But I think, hey, if you want to be an ally, you want to put in a work, let's go. Because our people have definitely sacrificed their lives for change. And so freedom fighters, I know white people on that bus too, and their lives were taken as well. So them the type of people, let's ride or die. You know what I'm saying? If we talking about no snitching, let's infiltrate some companies and we snitching. Because everybody that ain't with the plan gotta go. Straight up.
Okay. So one of many, I'm gonna ask you this too. We saw just recently a lot of the Democrat senators that took a knee. We seen some other senators, even Republican senators, going marching with the people, and we seen police officers marching with the people, and people taking knees, police officers taking knees, throwing down shields and doing whatnot. are we supposed to believe all this, or like, I mean, I guess, how are we supposed to take that? If you could give your opinion, you gotta unmute, please. Unmute.
As far as
There
like
you go.
when stuff like this happen, I think it's like, okay, this is the beginning. That's phase one. Normally, and I thought somebody else was gonna say this earlier, it's like when you get like this type of attention, this type of media exposure, it's like kind of like overly like light bulbed on it. You got to be careful of it because it becomes a commercial. You know what I'm saying? Like they commercialize our struggle to the point where the solutions are only based around making us comfortable in the way of our response. So I think our response needs to change if we really want them to listen, to make those mistakes with us, be on the front line with us. Once we see the white people in the front of lines of the protest, it's like we become the shadow. You know what I'm saying? It's like the protest becomes that bus. You know, we at the back of it now. We let them be in the front because it's less likely the police gonna shoot tear gas in the big crowds with they people in the front. So it's like we just got to be careful that our movements, our voices being heard, although we do have our allies, but it could just get a little watered down if our pain isn't up front. If we kind of like go to the back because it makes the pain easier, you know? So it's like an analogy Malcolm X said, you know, we suffer peacefully when you mix it. You know, it's like the coffee and the cream. You know, it's not as strong as it once was. So that's my take on that part. It's just like we have to be careful who we allow to be in our front line if they're not really going along this same path, the same mission with us, because our pain becomes like a commercial to other people's progress, and then the solutions is only to help us go through that part of the phase. So I think phase two just has to be a little deeper, a little stronger. I'm not saying burn things down or riot, but I'm just saying like we can't just leave it where it's at, because we've seen us marching for over 100 years. We've seen us protesting for years. It's like, what is our response to this disrespect or this level of lack of humility? So I just think it's a start. We got a good start. I don't ever want to discredit our progress. I'm not a hopeless soul. I don't believe it's too late for us. I don't talk like that. I just want to say where we at right now is where we've been, and what is after that is it's not supposed to be pretty. You know, it's not supposed to be protest songs being created and then we go back to work 6 months for the same people who disrespecting us. I think the infiltration what my boy Ann is talking about is the right word to use, because that's how we've been manipulated over the years. You know, crew infiltration is a thing, and it starts from within. So the more allies we can get, the more people that are going to be with us, they just have to know that, man, like this isn't where it's going to stay. We have to be able to not separate, but build things along the way. Like if you go to college, if you get a job at a good career job, the goal as a black man to me in America is to learn how that company is operating and then bring that information back so you'll be able to manipulate the system and then cut them off in a bit. That's just one of the approaches I have for it. But like I said, I'm here for the information. I'm here to shed light. I'm here to get this info, and I'm here to possibly put some things in place where we can move forward and not just leave it as a conversation. So, like I said, this is a good start for us, but we've been here before.
Okay. All right. How am I supposed to take it? I mean, we supposed to, I guess, believe when we see Nancy Pelosi down on one knee in the Kente Club? Are we supposed to actually soak that in when we seeing Mitt Romney marching with the people with his hand up in the air? Are we supposed to, do we accept to see police officers all of a sudden choosing to throw down their batons and like they're not gonna run at you no more? I mean, like how do we feel about that? Are we supposed to accept that?
Well, I don't know about accepting it, just more so it's happening. Like it's like I see that stuff happen, sure. Does it change my perspective at all? Nah. Like my dad was in the law enforcement for 30 35 years. He retired a few years ago. He was, he's black and he's law enforcement. And you don't see him making the decisions that other people made, against other people. My dad could have been that cop that was putting knees on white people's necks too, right? It's like personal. If these big people want to, or if these police officers, these political people want to join in on everything that's going on, cool. But where was you at the last 20 years? Where were you at the last protest? Where were you at the last black person getting killed? Where were you? Where were you? Well, now that it's gone viral, you think that now, yeah, all right, I think it's okay, I step in now. No, like that doesn't make any sense to me. So what, do I accept it? It's like, okay, cool, good for you, but did it change anything? Has it started to change things? Maybe. I guess this was one of those things that only time will tell. Only time is going to show the real impact of these people of power and the decisions that they make according to what's going on. What's happening right now, I don't know. I don't necessarily accept it, and I don't necessarily not accept it. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things that's like a teeter-totter, because are they doing all that because they know a bunch of eyes on them? Or are they doing all that because that's what they truly feel is right for them to do? And if it was truly right for them to do, why didn't they do it years ago? Why didn't they do it the last time somebody got killed? Why didn't they do it the last protest? If it's something that they truly believed in all their life, but now want to broadcast it because all eyes on them. It's and you don't know those things. You're not them. I'm not them. Nobody is them. Only they are themselves. So you don't truly know. So that's why I accept and not accept it, because you just don't know what their ulterior motive was. You know what I mean? The reason, because they could have said, screw that. I'm not gonna, I don't believe that. I'm not gonna stick up for that. I don't care who's watching me, right? Or, I don't know. Maybe I should do this. This seems like the right thing for me to do right now, because it's all being broadcast, it's all viral, and my voice is heard. So I want to make sure that when my voice is heard, it's heard in the right way. Or is it just heard in the white way? I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, Dash to you B. I guess, is this real, or can I use the words of Cardi B and say they do anything for clout? Is this for clout? Or is this real? I mean, how do you take that?
It's a convenient alliance because of what's going on right now. That's how I see it. And I'm not saying it's all of them, but I think it's very convenient that all of a sudden you guys got the wind behind your backs, and you guys are now able to introduce legislation that we've needed for over 40 some years. But all of a sudden now, like you inspired to do it. I mean, come on, yo. The whole kneeling thing in the cloth, that was just overdoing it. I didn't see nobody kneel when Cap was kneeling. They didn't want to kneel then, but now they want to do it. What's the difference? Because there's so many more white allies now that's a part of this movement, and now it's like, okay, yeah, I got to get on my horse and I got to make these things change. You want to make the change just because black people asked for it, because black people been asking for it. And like I said, it's for those that have been there, and some of the cats been there 15, 20 years, whatever it is, y'all ain't got no excuse. None.
Yeah.
I'm going to take everybody on a case by case basis. The great thing, the great thing is that we keep voting records. Just like we playing basketball or whatever. Yo, let's look at the stats. Let's see what it says, and then we can come up and see what you're really about. Is it something that you've been doing from the beginning since you got in, or have you just been picking and choosing, or because the team's on a little hot streak at the end of the season, we on the playoffs, now you want to jump on the bandwagon? Is that what it is? Is we in the playoffs now? Is that what's going on? We the hot team in the playoffs, now you want to jump on? Like, yo, it's really about just getting stuff done. Like, all the extra antics and stuff, I mean, they doing it for TV. They think they showing people, but yo, y'all the ones that burned the bridge. So y'all the ones that need to rebuild the bridge. It is not incumbent on me to re-extend that bridge to y'all. Y'all been knew what the problems was. You didn't do anything about it, or felt you couldn't do anything about it. And for a lot of people, I can't speak for other people on the panel, but for me, y'all just burned the bridge down. So I'm not just because I see y'all kneeling and you got the cloth like, oh man, yo, bridge is rebuilt. I'm on board. We kumbaya. Nah, you got to work at it now. Since the bridge is burnt, now you got to spend the time rebuilding it. If you truly want my trust to be able to take what you're doing at face value. Because right now I got to be skeptical, because your past and your history tells me and informs me I need to be skeptical. If you got consistency, you ain't got nothing to worry about. And if you got consistency and you've been doing what you should be doing, you ain't got to take the time to kneel. Your record should have already said it. Now, I don't know all the people that knelt or whatever, but I know there's some people that have been in it. I mean, been in it since MLK. They ain't got to take the time for that. Your record speaks for yourself. Just do what you've been doing as long as you've been staying on point. So for me, yo, I'm gonna be skeptical. Yo, if they want to jump on board, am I gonna take the win if they can get one? Yeah, I'm gonna take the win, because no matter what I think, the movement and what we're trying to accomplish still needs to move forward. But we not buddy. I mean, I gotta see consistency. We do that all the time in basketball. Yo, you had 2 good seasons. Nah, that ain't enough. I need to see consistency. I need to see you do this over a period of time. If you do it over a period of time, then I'll start to put you in those other categories. But if you don't, I ain't trying to hear it.
Okay. I'm gonna go on to the next question here. I'm gonna move on to Ant here. We've seen the story of the young man that was in his house, and I guess the white lady officer went to the wrong apartment, thought someone was breaking in, shot and killed him, and thought she was gonna get off, but she didn't get off. One of the strange things that we did see that in that court case was there was a situation where I guess the brother of the victim of the situation went on and asked the judge if he could please extend a sign of peace and giving her a hug. One of the things I see with this new generation is that they're calling the BS out, So it's like, yo, for years you may have seen stuff with Bill Cosby and some of these other people who were doing things, and they said, you know what? The way you doing stuff with the women, that ain't right. Guess what? We starting a Me Too situation, and we calling it out for what it is. Stuff that generations have been known that this has been, happening with the Harvey Weinsteins and the different people of that generation. They seen stuff with the gay population and being bashed and stuff, and this newer generation is saying, yo, we ain't having that either. And I'm finally now seeing this new younger generation is calling out racism for what it is too. But I guess what my question is, as a Black people, do you feel like we've just been too tolerant? Have we been too forgiving?
Well, That's a deep one too, because I like to, get into the psychosis of a people that have been oppressed for 401 years and who they've been oppressed by. So there's some truth to, yeah, we are, because that's how we've been able to survive, right? As a slave, you couldn't hold a grudge, right? Like, what was you gonna do? Die? Get whipped? So part of it is, right, we want to say religious, it's a good thing, but part of it is a part of our mental psychosis, part of how we've been trained, part of how we've been brainwashed, part of how we've been mentally tormented to where that's a survival tactic, right? But if I'm looking at it just for what it is, here's the thing. When he forgave that lady for killing her brother, like, the fact that the media broadcast that's where the issue lies, because they broadcast it to then help other people feel like, well, see, maybe it's not as bad as what it is. Maybe it's not a big issue. That's why they broadcast it, because he could have been doing that forgiveness for him, because if he didn't do it, he was going to feel like maybe he wanted to kill that lady. And so maybe he did it because it would make him feel better as a person. But I think the fact that the media put it out, they're trying to paint a narrative, right? Maybe it wasn't so bad. She shouldn't get that much time, because that's why they did it. It wasn't for any, because they could have kept that out because it had no bearing on the case. But they wanted to help the white woman's image, right? When we get arrested, they do what to our image? Our image goes in the dumps. But they're like, this white lady, let's not look. He forgave her, so she's all good. We already know white women don't go to jail as much for sexual assault, right? For messing with young kids. All these teachers, white teachers that have been women. Guess what, man? They get a slap on the wrist and they get to go about their business. So, and their image isn't Mike Tyson, right? They're like, she had a mental lapse. She was dealing with this. She was dealing with that. So forgiveness by itself is a great thing. But when you add all of these things that the media and the world society is trying to push onto people, I just really don't think it's helpful. And people will then forget the fact that just because you forgive somebody doesn't mean that they don't get the justice they deserve, right? Yeah, he can forgive her, but she still needs to go to jail for what she did. Yes, she was forgiven, but she still committed a crime. So yeah, you can forgive her and write her from jail. He can write letters to her from jail, because that's what our system says it's supposed to be like, right? Other people don't get off because you feel good about them or you forgave them, because I'm sure there's other people that have forgiven people too. I know a lady who used to go around talking to kids in Madison who got robbed by two African-American boys. They shot her. She had to have surgery and she had some physical issues. She was coming back and she was at La Follette High School talking to kids about forgiving her shooter. You think that got him any less time? No. He's still in jail, because forgiveness doesn't have anything to do with justice. You can forgive, but we still got to get justice, right? And so naturally, inherently, Black people, yes, we are forgiving, we are caring, we are loving, despite what the world tries to say about us. Those are the things that we really are and define who we really are. And so I just think it's how the media spins it, how society spins it. Forgiveness at its core, I think, is a good thing. But I think when it comes to us, everything that we are and everything that we do is used to tell another narrative so that people can once again get over on us, because we are so forgiving, because we are so loyal, because we are so understanding. And so it's once again, man, it's another complex issue that is fortified by the fact that we've been under 401 years of oppression and mental torture, right? So I really.
I hear you. I'm gonna go ISO. Do you believe, as a white man, that you believe that Black people have been too tolerant to blatant racism?
To a certain extent, I do believe that Black people have been too tolerant. what Ant touched on as far as you guys had to forgive to survive. That's one of the biggest reasons why you guys have continued to survive and thrive and fight, is because you've been forced. And I think there's a saying like, a person's capacity for forgiveness is a reflection of who you are. And Black people have an astronomical amount of forgiveness, but they have forgiveness for people who have remorse, who admit their wrongs, are willing to take responsibility for their own actions, right? I mean, and on a personal, like on a one-to-one forgiveness level, like I can see how that man, would want to forgive the officer that shot his brother. Like, but that should be a personal thing. That shouldn't have been on social media. That shouldn't have been televised. Like that's kind of a personal thing. But on a mass scale, because there's the system in place, the white supremacist system is in place, you don't forgive that. As a race, as a group of people, you don't forgive that. You don't forgive hundreds of years of slavery and oppression and hate and murder. You don't forgive that as a people. But forgiveness on a personal level is a good thing. But I just don't think you forgive that now. You don't forgive the policies that are in place. You don't forgive the racist ideology and ideas that have been around since forever. Since the slave trade started in Portugal back before Columbus was here. I think there's documentation. The first thing Columbus said when he saw indigenous people here was, how am I going to make money off it? We have white people, white supremacist whiteness. We have profited off the slaves off the backs of slaves, and for Black people and indigenous people. And it's time for that to end. You don't forgive that. You don't forgive that. You wanna have a conversation with someone, look them in the eye, and decide that you want to forgive them. I think that's a good thing.
Okay. I guess I'm gonna go to you, one of many. I'm going to you next here. Same basic question. In many situations, they like to talk about this Black on Black crime. And they say a lot of times Black people do not forgive each other. Do you feel like we are more tolerant and forgiving to racism?
I think that's more of a us coming over here, adapting to or being forced upon a certain lifestyle, certain living conditions. I think that was all a part of it, being, forced on Christianity. That plays a big part in the Christianity religion, as far as God is a forgiving God, and you take on these lifestyles. But for everyone that is so forgiving, there's some that's not. Like Trayvon Martin mom, she still isn't forgiving. So it's it's a fine line in between it. But I would say that even in America, that's a public thing that they want to push. Like when things go bad, or you speak out of line of the American way of speaking, they may force you to go on TV publicly and apologize, or stuff like that. So I just think that's a tactic to weaken what's being done. Not all of us are so forgiving, but like Ed said, at times there was nothing we could do. Some of us have taken on slave mentalities where we take our level of disrespect without really addressing it. And it's just well, it's not really bothering me. Or some of us has been put in position of a career where the money is kind of getting in the way of your morals. I just think it's really calling it out, calling people out on it more, who's putting us in these situations or putting other people in those situations to really just, step up and just say something. I wouldn't say unforgiving, but I wouldn't speak for everybody. I just like to look at things on a broader scale. So that would be my take on that.
Okay. Dash GB, I'm gonna go to you. I'm gonna flip up this question here. I'm
Hey
going to a
Mizzle,
different question.
I want to tell one of many to make a shirt out of that. The money getting in the way of your morals. That's a shirt, homie. Is money getting in the way of your morals? Hey, let's go.
It's true. That's love. That's love.
With that being said, Dash GB, I'm gonna go to the next question here. Next question is, there was a young lady, I can't remember her name. I'm bad with names. But she was talking about, she's a African American lady, and she was talking about how the African American society likes to we like to make celebrities and stuff out of criminals and such, and talked about how we like to kind of make these people into heroes and whatnot. And just
Candace
to play
Owens is her
devil.
name.
What is her
Candace
name?
Owens.
Thank
Candace
you.
Owens.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very bad with names. I guess to play devil's advocate, can I ask you, should criminals receive civil treatment? Like, what kind of treatment do you believe criminals should receive?
What kind of treatment? Well, to address the first part of in her words, I guess glorifying criminals, would that include Martin Luther King Jr.? He got a record. Is that included in us glorifying criminals? To me, there's so many different ways to disprove that. But you're asking me specifically. I just had to address that part with whatever she's talking about.
No, thank you for that.
But you're saying treatment of criminals. What was the question again? One more time. I'm sorry.
The question is, what type of, I guess, should criminals receive civil treatment? Like, what type of treatment should criminals receive?
Criminals should receive treatment as if they're human beings like anybody else. Why would it be any different because they're criminals? It's that broad stroke, and it's that projection of it's a superiority thing that we feel that we're better than this group, so we feel entitled to be able to do this to this group of people. Criminals are people like anybody else, and there's a number of different things society-wise that happen, not to justify you doing something wrong, but society has a system that has, in essence, in many cases, pitted people against people for just the basics, for the ability to survive. And it's not because of scarcity of resources. It's because of the structure that's been put out, has been propped up, and the propaganda they've put out to pit one group of people against another group of people. You could look at me. I mean, if I'm walking down the street late at night and I got a hood on, I'm probably projected as a criminal in some people's mind. So does that mean automatically, because you're projecting that I may be a criminal, or I fit the description of a criminal, that now all of a sudden I don't have rights, that I need to be treated differently in a certain different type of way? We talked about forgiveness in the last question. Every person should be able to have a second chance, should be able to have the ability for redemption. I talked about it with those politicians when we're talking about the stuff they was doing on TV and the kneeling in the cloth and everything. I'm like, yeah, you burned down the bridge, but it don't mean it can't be rebuilt. So I think everybody should be able to have a second chance and a chance for redemption. I don't believe anybody should be stripped of opportunities and rights because of what I like to think is a superiority thing, and the ability to feel comfortable demeaning other people. Everybody's a human being here, period.
Thank you. So, ISO, I'm gonna come down to you with that same kind of question. I'm looking at it. Recently, we seen an incident with a basketball player, Jr. What's his name? Jr. He used to be on the Cleveland Cavaliers.
J.R. Smith.
Yeah.
J.R. Smith. Yeah. You see an individual that committed a crime to his vehicle and ran down, found that man, beat him down. So when we see incidents like that, it may be very easy to understand if you were a police officer chasing down an individual the same way, how you may handle a situation in the same situation. For me to play devil advocate, I guess, could you possibly see it like that?
No, because police are supposed to be held to a higher standard. They're supposed to have better training. Remain calm in the face of stress and fear and anxiety. That's what we would hope. And so J.R. Smith is a basketball player who loves his car. Like he got emotional, and like, I mean, I feel like most of us probably would have done the same thing. So does that I don't think that those I don't feel like you can compare those two as, a civilian, even if it's a celebrity, or an athlete or anything like that. The way they react in a certain situation can't compare that to how the people who are supposed to serve and protect are supposed to react in the same situation. There's no good can come from that sort of violence. You might feel better afterwards, but we've seen it before. That person might go after J.R. Smith, and he might lose some money. Like that, he might regret it later. He might not. I don't know. Like, a mind in his brain, but when it comes to the police and the people who have power, they are supposed to treat humans as humans, people as people. That's what they're supposed to do. That's what we were told that they were supposed to do. And when they don't, and they aren't held accountable, that's what's wrong. Like, that's one of the biggest things that's wrong now, right? They're not held accountable. They're not held up to pay for the wrongs. I mean, normal people most times, it's actually no. It's white people get away with it a lot more when they react in a certain way, irrationally, and we're forgiven by the justice system and the police. And, I think I saw something where there were 3 individuals arrested, same city, same day, for protesting, and there were 3 different levels of bail set. And the white kid was like $200, and there was another kid. I don't remember his race, but the highest level of bail was set for the black young black man. Like his was $500. So that was, it's just different. It's just different. The police have to be held accountable.
That goes to my next question. I'm gonna go to Irie. I'm gonna go to you next. Do you believe that the blue line extends to the court system and the prison systems?
Does the blue line extend to the courts? Okay,
The police have a blue line.
Right.
Do you believe that same line, as ISO just said, that same arrest, then the gentlemen went to the court system and had to then deal with this stuff with the court system? I guess too many times we've seen where these officers that may, have jumped a gun and got a little bit too unruly and, have done these terrible acts towards black people, we see them get off. We've seen this with Rodney King. We've seen this Trayvon Martin situation. We've seen so many times people get off in these situations. Do we feel that this blue line follows all the way through the court systems and the prison systems?
It does. Well, and it goes hand in hand with the whole, you were taught that growing up. So no matter what profession you get into as an adult, still in your child life, you were still taught that one-track mind, right? No matter what profession you get in. You could be a janitor and still fucking, not mop the floor for a black person's office and mop the white man's office extra clean. Okay, that's a profession. Or you could sentence a black man this sentence and sentence the white man this sentence because that's your profession. Regardless, it's still how you were brought up. So does that line come to there? Of course it does. It goes wherever. It literally goes wherever that mindset is. You know what I mean? It goes to wherever or whoever that mindset is in that profession. That doesn't mean, and I can speak for this because my father was in law enforcement, it doesn't mean that everybody on that blue line has that one-track mind, right? That doesn't mean that at all. But it does mean that if you are making those decisions that do impact, somebody's life, whether they happen to be black or white, you make those decisions as to how their life is impacted, then you're a part of that blue line. In that profession, you are then a part of that blue line. So, of course it does, but it doesn't at the same time,
Okay. And as a former officer, man-in-law, you may know a little something about that yourself. And you know that they have a job to do. And we know that they will support each other no matter what. Does that same blue line extend into the court systems and the prison systems?
Yeah, I don't necessarily call it the blue line. It's just white supremacy racism. And like my man Irie just said, it permeates everywhere. So, and this is what I try to tell people. We always try to extol these virtues of like the good individuals. We're not talking about individuals. People always try to redirect the narrative to individuals. Like when you say defund the police, everybody wants to tell you, but I know good police. That's like, we talking about a system that has been around before you were born, before I was born, that has been the torment of black people in this country. And when we say, hey, do this for us, y'all like, but I know somebody I was a good officer, but I could still peep the system. And I know there were things that I didn't say when I should have said things, because when we think of police brutality, we always think of the big things, like what happened to George Floyd. It's the little things every day that officers do to inconvenience people who they don't like. It's called discretion. I like you, I'm not gonna give you a ticket. Don't like you, dude, I'm giving you a ticket. Not only am I giving you a ticket, I'm gonna take you down to the jail to make you post on it because I know you can't afford it. So I know you'll sit in jail. So like we talk about, we like to, right? Because it gets on the news, but it's the everyday things that happen to people. Like how many times a brother gotta get pulled over and not get a ticket? That builds up. And we like to focus on the big, but the whole system is not set up to actually protect and serve the community, which is what it is about. And then as an officer, right, one of the things they talked about defunding the police is that officers can't be everything. And that's absolutely correct. Because at nighttime, most businesses are shut down. So guess what officers have to be? They have to be social workers. They have to be mental health professionals. They have to be all of these things that we shouldn't require them to be, but we do. Then they feel the pressure, and then they can't handle the pressure a lot of times, and then we get what we get. So just remember, it's more than just the knee on George Floyd's neck. It's a lot of stuff that happens before that, and we don't get to know about, we don't talk about because it's not sexy, it's not on the news. That's why people are really frustrated, right? Because this is a culmination and it's compounded. And then also remember this: laws are the greatest and most deadly expression of white supremacy, racism. So let me say that again. Laws, LAWS, they are the greatest and most deadly expressions of white supremacy, racism. We don't talk about that. Who created the laws? Who makes the laws? Why did laws change right during Jim Crow? Because we didn't always have big prisons in our country. We had little small regional jails, right? Then somebody said, shoot, we can get these mugs up in these prisons. So guess what they did? They created laws. And ain't that the first people, right? We were talking about being criminals, right? Dub, criminals. Who determines what a criminal is? The laws, the people who are making the laws. That's who decides who criminals are, the people who make the laws. And I can tell you, I can show you that laws are the biggest and deadliest expression of white supremacy. Because did you know here in Wisconsin, in the Wisconsin state statutes, if you look it up right now, did you know that adultery is a felony?
Yeah.
Shake your head if you knew that.
Yeah.
Adultery, that means cheating on your wife, is a felony. When the last time you heard somebody picked up on that charge? I'll wait. Because you know who that would disproportionately affect? So I wonder why. So that's what kills me. People don't study, people don't research, people don't look. They think Black people just want to complain. No, Black people just want to live their life and they want to be treated fairly. So like law's greatest expression. And so be careful when talking about the individual versus the corrupt system narrative. And I learned this from my good sister, Brandy Grayson. Interpersonal relationships should not stop you from pushing forward on things that you believe to be right. So ISO talked a little bit about it. You're going to lose some friends. You're going to lose some people. And I can still love people that I don't agree with. So if you ain't for this, that's fine. I'm still going to love you. We might not talk as much because you ain't feeling what I'm feeling, but you can't let your interpersonal relationship stop you from going forward in this work. And we got to stop the good individual narrative versus this corrupt system, because it clearly hasn't worked. There's been good people in the system for a long time, right? You know what I'm saying? We know them. You know them. I was one of them. Have I changed the way the system works? Absolutely not. Use of force policies? Absolutely not. The way cops investigate other cops? Absolutely not. So, like, I've been in there, so I can tell you from my experience. I've been a Black man who was pulled over plenty of times and, you know what I'm saying, discriminated against before I became a cop. I got called the N-word when I was a cop, and I'm still getting called the N-word now. So you tell me, what's the better of the better?
True. Okay. One of many. I'm going to you next. With that being said, like you said, there's been talks to defund. There's been talks to just totally change the whole policing system. If we were to eliminate police, not have policing departments and whatnot, like there's been discussions in Minnesota and elsewhere. How do we keep order?
That's a great question. Um, and maybe I'm gonna answer the question, but I'm actually here for this question. I'm here for this answer from others too. But one thing I would say to that question is, how do we keep order? Is it have to be within the community. Like I'm a firm believer in it takes a community to raise a child, it takes a village to raise a child, and I believe that. I believe in our elders. Is no different than the first teacher is like a mother in the household, right? So that's our first teacher. So what you see at school when the children are interacting with other students, teachers, security guards, principal, whoever it is, that has to take into account of it started at home first, and then this is where it led to. So I'm not going to say if we kick the police out, that's the end all. But with the narratives are being spoken about what the police, their stigmas are for judgment, seeing people that's I don't know less fortunate. I would say that type of mentality then goes into the school system, right? So they just have a like a pathway from school to jail, like they call it a prison pipeline. So you go, you enter into school as a black youth, a black male, and in a certain time frame, you will be in jail, or it's more likely than you'll have a criminal background than a degree from your school. So it's like the narrative becomes, why are the police really in the school? So that's a bigger question, because it's like, we know what police are for. They are, in my eyes, they're basically to put you in jail. It's not to protect and serve. So that just give them an easier access to go get whatever their quota is for the day, the month, whatever it is. You put them in there, and most likely, when I see police as a high school student, it just causes confusion, builds rage. It's like, why are they here? This isn't jail. So I just think it has to be a conversation with the students, because we live in a time where the children are the new teachers. That's what I believe. Children are the teachers. So we can't just give them guidelines without including them. I'm also a mentor. I work with an organization called Mentoring Positives as well, but that's not this. What I'm saying is we lead by including the children in the business plan, including the children in the meetings that we will have. Like they're not just participants. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're included in processes from A to B. So when you remove the students, the youth voice from them being able to like say we want this or we want that, it's a dictatorship. And that's where I think we are with the school system, with having security guards in it without real conversation with everybody that this will affect, and mainly the students. You know, so I'm not saying to kick them out, but I'm saying what would be the alternative. I asked that same question, right? I think school is important for direction. I think it's important for guidance. I met a lot of great individuals in my time in school. I've been to college, so I know its benefits in meeting people in that space. I just don't fully agree with just having police there, because it just puts a different vibe to, you know, the people that's not under that scrutiny, just even needing that or seeing that. It's like when you live in the ghetto, police on every corner. You go to the store, you may be stopped, or, you know, so when you go to your school, it's just like, man, it's like, I can't get away from this, you know what I'm saying? And your thought process is just a little different. So who would you want to see outside of a police officer in your school, somebody that you look up to in certain areas we grow up? Maybe a mentor, you know what I mean? Like maybe somebody like a mentoring program inside the school. So whatever the security guard was there to do, you take a different alternative before you lead to that route, because I just think it's hard to communicate when it's a stigma in your way, right? So if I see somebody that I relate to on a level of just everyday living, I'm more likely to give them my truth than I am to somebody that just arrested my uncle 2 days ago. So I think the conversation, it was times where the police would try to have great relationships with the community. And they would come to community centers, they would talk, they would come and do the book things. So there's a lot of stuff that they was trying to do. And maybe that's needed, but not from police officers. Maybe it's needed from your mom to come to the school, your uncle, whatever it'll take to get them to like really understand that education isn't going anywhere. It's just certain strategies in education can be altered.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you lastly here. Uh, basically same question. We seen the situation with a SWAT team that knocked over the old man while they were patrolling the streets and trying to clear the streets of all the protesters, and they knocked over the man. And after they got some backlash from that, all the officers decided that they were gonna quit. So they decided they were no longer gonna follow and do the SWAT team position. Uh, just to play devil's advocate one more time, I'm asking if we do not have police to protect that order, how do we, I guess, basically keep order in society without the police to be there?
That's a very big question with many different avenues and many different answers, and there's probably not one answer. It's probably a large amount of answers in different areas. I agree with one of many as far as it starts in the home. It starts with your parents, your mother, your father, your mentors, your aunts and uncles, and all of them educating you from the day you're born. Educating you to dismantle this system, right? Like to think differently than the racist system, to be anti-racist. And like because racism affects every single part of our society. It's education, it's the justice system, it's it's healthcare, it's everything. So if you can change that, start to change every single aspect of life, maybe start increasing trust, increasing 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 equality. Like if Black people aren't constantly being harassed, if they're not constantly being oppressed, gentlemen, all of yours dealings with the police are completely opposite of mine. And I can't begin to see things from your perspective, but I do know that there is anger, there is hate, there is, and we have to try to change that. And so you start with the children, you start with the education system, you start with police reform. Like those cops that left, good riddance, right? I mean, like that's 50 some odd cops in what was that, Buffalo, that are gone. Like they didn't leave the police force, granted, like they didn't leave, but they're not on the SWAT team or the emergency response team. I said good riddance, because that's not the people that you want. Like they're supporting the two people that injured a 75-year-old man. That's not okay. So it's okay that they left. And that's also what we need to do. We need to weed out, get rid of those bad cops, those compliant police officers, who was it? Was it someone on the show last week who said the only good cop is a bad cop? Did someone say that?
That was a statement that was made, yes.
Right. Like that made so much sense to me. The only good cop is a bad cop, because all the good cops would think that the person who was doing right was a bad cop. That So if people's level quality of life were better, you might not need so many police. If there were equality in employment, equality of healthcare, access to, if you were struggling, if you were unhappy, if you have access to that healthcare, get the help you needed when you need it, you're not gonna feel isolated, feel abandoned. And that's just a human quality, like in my opinion, like you wanna be able to reach out and get help, right? But Black people, they got to do for themselves. They got to stay to themselves and do for themselves, and like there won't be any need for. There's always need for some sort of policing in some respect, but not in the current system. The current system isn't working. The current police, it's the way it's set up, the way it's going. It's not working. It's not for the world that we should be able to live in. You know, give people access to the community centers, free access to it, right? Like, you want to walk down the street and go hang out with your friends, you should be able to. Everybody should be able to. You shouldn't have to worry about it. You got everyone has to have equal access to everything you need to live a better life, live a happy life. And it'd be a long way to get there, but I think, like, just trying to improve people's quality of life.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Well, with that being said, I thank you everybody for tuning in. I want to thank our guest today. I got Steve ISO. I want to thank you. Tell the people where they find you.
They can find me in my basement. I've been MIA for a while. I ain't been doing much, pandemic and everything, but even before that. But, my name Steve ISO. I'm gonna get out there. I'm gonna connect with people. Now's the time that I have to connect. I have to connect with everybody. I thank you all for letting me participate in this conversation. Many more conversations like this need to happen. And yeah, you'll see me around. People always do. I always make my way around, but you ain't gotta find me. It's my job to find you and to talk to you right now. So
I want to thank the homie Ant, the Hope Boy. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yo, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all that stuff, the Hope Boy. So type in the Hope Boy, you will find me. You can also find my music by doing the same thing, searching A&T the Hope Boy. I got 2 albums out currently right now, doing really well. I dropped them just because I was like, I'm tired of being a perfectionist, no promo or any of that. And people are really showing in love. It's people all over the country listening to the album. I don't know how, but I appreciate it. And thank you to everybody that's listening to it. It's what I call movement music, because I'm talking about like real life stuff. Because this George, like we said, George Floyd is the name now, right? And it was tragic, but we've been feeling this. We've been talking about this. We've been experiencing this. And I'm just happy to be on here, share my perspective with you guys. And I just want to, you know what I'm saying? Like my homie, one of many said, man, stop letting money get in the way of your morals. So I appreciate being on with y'all tonight, man.
That is the line for the night. Yes. And we thank you, one of many also. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, man, I thank y'all too. And my email, I think my name is my email. That's definitely directly me. I answer those. That's my name everywhere across social media. Or just, I challenge everybody listening, everybody watching this. I challenge the panelists to log in to mkt.com/let's work. That's the brand we represent. If you want to know anything about us, from Let's Work lyrics to Let's Work literature, Let's Work leaders in the lens, tap into that website, mkt.com/let's work. That's LESSWORK. I thank Dash. I look up to you, big brother. You got a hell of a platform. I thank everybody. Jizzle, man, you was right here, man. You was making my brain just go ping, 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 ping all night. You know what I'm saying? So I thank you. I think Steve, man, bro, like you're a brave soul. My boy Irie, I be feeling like I'm messing your name up. People always mess my name up, so I get that. I want to thank everybody, man. My boy Ant, you a rider, bro. Like I want to talk to you off of this too, bro, because to have the respect of as a black officer at a point, as a black rapper as a point, to know like the levels of that, right? You know, just the different conversations behind that. Man, like I feel very honored to be on this panel like this. And Dash, bro, you always get it right, bro. You always get it right. And I say that from a music standpoint. People send me music, I'll be like, bro, why did they think of me when they sent me this? Like, you know, but like the opportunities that you've been putting me on these platforms, I be feeling like, dang, bro, like I'm here to learn tonight. You feel me? I was here more so to like learn the most. And if anybody know me, people come to me for this type of information. So like when I see the names, I see the people on this panel, I became a student tonight. You feel me? So I want to thank y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like real talk. So thank y'all.
Thank you. And we want to thank Irai for joining the panel. He did have to go, but we do appreciate his time and effort and his comments in this session. As well, my co-host, Dash B, final words.
Oh man, I'm just very appreciative of everybody that decided to be a part of this. I appreciate your honesty, the willingness to share your point of view, and share your experiences. It was amazing for me to hear the different responses and the feedback and how people are seeing things and perceiving things. But you know, from the reply we got from the last one, a lot of other people are also picking up things from this conversation and the things that we're talking about and discussing and the point of views that we're sharing. So very appreciative that you guys took the time to do this, and appreciative to everybody that tuned in and shared. And I hope once again you guys were able to take something away from this.
Yes. Thank everybody for tuning in to this video. The last video, we got more videos to come. You know, if you want to be a guest on the panel, please hit us up on the Facebook page, Talk 22, or you can also hit up the Radio 22 page and also leave your comments there as well. We thank you once again. I'm your host, Mizzle to the Jizzle. Hey, peace.
Yeah.